previous Mercedes-Benz GLA, well, it was definitely a low-cost way of getting into the Mercedes-Benz family. But problem with that vehicle was that, well, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a vehicle that would make someone go wow. That was my problem with the older GLA. So when Mercedes-Benz went back to the drawing board to come up with a new GLA, well, they had a lot of work to do. And all of that work and effort has resulted in this. And this is the new Mercedes-Benz GLA 200. Well, they claim it's better than the older one, and I'm sure it is. But is it finally a desirable SUV or not? Well, let's find out. Now, one of the key problems I had with the previous GLA was the fact that while it was positioned as a luxury compact SUV, it never looked like an SUV. It more looked like a hatchback which had been put on some stilts. But that is the biggest change you'll notice in the new GLA, because the GLA has grown up and finally looks like a compact SUV. And part of that grown up look comes from the fact that, well, compared to the previous model, this one is wider and most crucially it's taller, and that gives it the visual bulk that is usually required to give a vehicle an SUV look. Beyond that, if you look at the design, well, there's not a radical change that Mercedes-Benz designers have brought about. So the design at the front stays homogeneous to the overall family language, and you can see these nice looking headlamps with DRLs. Of course, you've got this big grille with again a massive star logo up front. There is a fair bit of chrome too, which is what a lot of Indians like. And as you move towards the side again, well, although it has grown up and it looks big, but you also have some nice curves, and you will see that the roof line starts tapering right from the B pillar. Also, the wheels, the alloy wheels, have got a good design and they look premium, and the wheelbase too is now longer compared to the previous model. Get to the rear. Well, the rear is, I would say, it's decent. It isn't as exciting as the front or the side, but that said, it goes along well with the rest of the design. And as a result of all this, a lot of creases, an aggressive bodywork on the hood, as a result of all this, what you get is finally a GLA that looks like a compact SUV, and quite a good one. Now, the other big change in the new GLA is the interior. Of course, it has gone through a big change when you compare it to the older version. Now, while the older GLA looked like just about okay as a luxury SUV, this one looks properly premium, and that is mainly down to this part, because with the inclusion of this twin screen setup that we are now seeing across the new Mercedes-Benz models, well, the cabin just looks so much more modern and premium. These are a set of two 10.25-inch screens, and the best part is that they have got a fantastic resolution. And of course, you can operate the central screen using either this touchpad with haptic feedback or even using simple touch controls. And while the touch is nice to use, this one is a bit complicated and takes some time to get used to. But that said, even if you look at the new air conditioning vents with the aluminium finish, these are again very good looking air conditioning vents and give the cabin a very nice modern and a premium look. The wooden dash inserts here, the dual color dashboard, the material quality, the fitment quality, all of it is top notch, and that gives you a proper luxury SUV experience. But that's not it. There are a lot of features too inside this cabin, and some useful ones, including a wireless charging pad. You've got multiple points to charge your device. You've got this nice big panoramic sunroof. The seats themselves are very nice. In fact, I will go on to say that the GLA has one of the best seats in its segment. And beyond that, if you look at the practicality, the storage space inside the cabin, that too is quite nice. Of course, you get things such as ambient lighting and a lot of other smart features. There's also Mercedes Me. So on all fronts now, the new GLA is far better than its predecessor. It is smarter, it is more premium, and of course it is much more advanced. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is another area where a big change has come through in the new GLA, and that is the rear seat and the space. Now, while the previous GLA felt a bit cramped, this one is not, and that is down to the 30mm increase in wheelbase, as a result of which now you have a lot better knee room. And with the driving seat adjusted to my driving preference, and me being 5 feet 8 inches in height, you can see there is a lot of knee room to spare. I can easily slide my legs under the driver's seat, and the under thigh support too feels adequate for a person of my height. Now, if I talk about the seat itself, the seat is comfortable and it is nice for 2 adults, but 2, not 3, because one, you have a high rising center tunnel, and the shape, the design of the seat itself is such that a passenger in the middle wouldn't be comfortable. But the backrest again is quite decent, I would say, although I would have preferred it to be a little bit more inclined towards the rear, resulting in a bit more relaxed stance. But that said, yes, the new GLA offers a much better, a more comfortable experience compared to the previous model. And of course, you have the sunroof to add to the airiness of the cabin. You've got rear AC vents, a Type-C charging point, and again, a lot of practical storage space. So yes, as far as the cabin is concerned, the new GLA is better in every aspect. So now, before I start talking about the driving experience of the new GLA, well, I have been speaking a lot about the better practicality and increased space inside the new GLA. But there is one area where, in terms of practicality, the new GLA doesn't deliver as expected, and that's the boot space. Now, if you look at the boot, well, it is larger than the earlier version, so that's a plus. But the problem is that the car comes with a space saver spare wheel, and that means that that wheel eats away into a lot of boot space. And as a result of this, if you plan to use the GLA for a long weekend or doing an airport run with a lot of big bags, well, that can be a bit problematic, because you'll have to choose between taking the spare wheel or not. But now, moving on from that fact, let's talk about the performance, the driving aspect. Now, with the new GLA, you get a petrol and a diesel option. The one that we are driving right now is a petrol motor, and it's quite a small motor, and that's a good thing, because, and as you all know by now, that petrol prices in India are at a record high. So a smaller motor means lower fuel consumption. But is it also small in terms of power and driving experience? Not exactly. Well, see, it's a 1.3 litre turbocharged petrol engine, and it delivers 163 PS and 250 Nm of torque on paper, and it's mated to a 7-speed automatic gearbox. Now, on the road, when you put the pedal to the metal, well, this engine, it has a slight initial turbo lag, but once you reach about, say, 1600 RPM, well, that's when the engine gets a lot better. The power delivery gets smoother, and that is when you can get a good dose of acceleration. Now, it's not a vehicle that will pin you back to the seat, but yes, it can move briskly. And as far as the gearbox performance is concerned, well, the gearbox is paired well to the engine, and that means that the gear shifts are quick. And if you want more control of the gearbox, you have the option of paddle shifters. Of course, I would have preferred paddle shifters with a metal finish. They would have looked more premium. These plastic ones look a bit not in sync with the overall premium theme. But then again, yes, in terms of performance, they work well. And in terms of refinement too, this engine is quite nice. So it delivers a very Mercedes experience, you know, a quiet and a refined cabin on the move. That's what the GLA manages to deliver, and that's a good thing. That said, this is, like I said, it offers brisk performance, not really enthusiastic performance. And that means that this engine doesn't like to be revved really hard. Cross about 4800 RPM, and that is the time when you start feeling a bit of strain from the engine, and that is precisely the point when you should choose to shift if you are taking control of the gearbox using the paddle shifters. Of course, you have these driving modes which are usual, and to put it simply, put it in sports, you get better performance, and put it in comfort, or you can put it in eco, depending on what kind of a driving experience you want. As far as ride and handling is concerned, well, the GLA has improved in terms of ride quality. I think it's not a massive difference, but yes, there is an incremental difference, and as a result of that, the GLA now rides over broken surfaces and potholes in a much better way, and that translates into better occupant comfort. Also, in terms of handling, well, it is a neutral vehicle. It's not a very sporty vehicle. At the same time, it's very stable as well. So straight line stability, no problem at all. Show it corners at high speeds, well, it will go through most of them without complaint, but you will be experiencing a fair bit of body roll. Alright then, so by now we have told you about all the major changes inside the new GLA, the GLA 200, the petrol variant specifically. And to me, if I have to sum it up, the new GLA is a big improvement over its previous version. Quite simply because while, like I said in the beginning of the video, the older GLA just couldn't put any kind of a wow factor. It just didn't have that kind of a pull. But this one is better in almost every aspect. This doesn't look like a hatchback on stilts. This looks like a proper compact SUV, and it has more space, it has more features, it is much modern, it feels a lot better, it drives better, it's better and more engaging to drive than earlier. So put all of that together, and what you finally now you get for the GLA is an SUV that is one of the best in its segment. And that means if you are out in the market looking for a compact luxury SUV, the new GLA is not an option you can miss, despite the fact that it doesn't come cheap. Now, if you look at the prices at the screen, well, this is the base model, this is the starting model, the petrol one. And if you choose to go in for the diesel ones, well, it's even more expensive. And if you compare to their segment rivals, this is not the cheapest car or the least expensive car. So that said, yes, it is expensive, but it has grown in every way. What used to be the baby Mercedes SUV, it has grown up to be a lot better. If you like this video, then please hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon to stay updated to our forthcoming videos, and do not forget to share it as well.